Based on your experience in both Iraq and Syria, what are you hearing? What can you tell us is happening now?
Well, this is a significant escalation from the very cautious and off and on retaliatory strikes that we have seen, just a handful in response to 160 attacks on U.S. personnel and U.S. ships by Iranian surrogates since October. So we have to see how Iran and surrogates will respond. But the fact that we have done this in such great numbers with such a variety of aircraft and ordnance, and that these may continue for days, is an indication that President Biden wanted to really deter these people from launching more attacks on American interests and American forces.
What does it tell you when we're sending long-range bombers, B-1 bombers from the U.S. around the world to conduct these strikes as opposed to assets in the theater?
Well, first of all, in some cases, it may be that that is the right asset for a specific target. In other cases, it is to show determination. Our capabilities are not questioned by Iran, the Russians, the Chinese, or anybody else. What is questioned is our intentions, our will to risk escalation from the other side, to risk losing more Americans in order to defend interests in the region. That's what people have raised questions about. There will be probably less questions after this, but again, this is just starting, and we have to see how the other side plays it.
Ambassador, I want to ask you about timing. This is an interesting component of the story. These retaliatory strikes have been in the works for 5 days. And there's been quite a bit of telegraphing in that time from the Pentagon. In fact, we heard a bit about this just a couple of days ago from the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. Let's listen to what he said and have you respond. Here's the Secretary.
In terms of telegraphing about strikes and whether or not people leave or will have left, I won't speculate on any of that. I would just tell you that, we will have a multi-tiered response, and again, we have the ability to respond a number of times depending on what the situation is.
Here we are, several days later, Ambassador, with the strikes underway. Was there a deterrent effect? Was that a deliberate act of telegraphing on behalf of the Pentagon? And I ask you that because we actually saw Iran start to pull out some of its Revolutionary Guard units from Syria in advance of the strikes. Was part of the purpose here to force the snake to recoil on its own? Certainly, and more importantly was the major Iranian-backed militia in Iraq that was probably responsible for the Jordan strike. Kataib Hezbollah announced that it would not launch any more attacks on the United States. So the Iranians were removing their, as we say, high-value targets back to Iran, and others were trying to duck responsibility and calm down. Nonetheless, we did act after a prudent waiting period. The other thing of note is this came on the very day that President Biden went out to the air base to greet the 3 fallen American soldiers who were killed in that attack. So you have a certain, if you will, cosmic balance between the loss of American lives and what we do in response. Ambassador, I want our viewers and listeners to know that you are also special presidential envoy for the global coalition to counter ISIS, the Islamic State. You know this part of the world better than most people here in America. Can you speak to Tower 22 and why that piece of land was so important, why it was targeted to begin with by these proxies? Officially, Tower 22 in Jordan is a support facility for a small detachment of American troops across the border in Syria at a place called Al-Tam, controlled by the Americans and elements of they're still around the anti-Assad Syrian, Free Syrian Army opposition that we happen to support only there. The official mission of the folks in Al-Tam and across the border at Tower 22 is to participate in the fight against the Islamic State, this Sunni terrorist group that emerged from al-Qaeda in 2014. And in a way, they do that peripherally. But the real purpose is
to sit astride the major highway between Tehran and Beirut, what we call the Shia Crescent, Iran's outreach into the Levant, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, to block land transportation, particularly in a crisis. So this is extremely sensitive terrain. I have been involved in negotiations with the Russians and others on their press to get the United States out of there. It is a very significant, if small, area that plays a primary role, not officially, but a primary role, in fact, in the somewhat on-again, off-again efforts by this and previous administrations to restrain and contain Iran.
Well, we've got a sense of how important it is. Certainly today, Ambassador, I'm looking at a statement from the Secretary of Defense. This was just released a short time ago following the strikes being made official. Lloyd Austin writes, quote, "The president has directed additional actions to hold the IRGC and affiliated militias accountable for their attacks on U.S. and coalition forces." How do you interpret that line, Ambassador? Are we surging new assets into the region?
Well, first of all, we have enough assets. Again, we may bring in things like B-1 bombers for military purposes or for political signaling, but we have a hell of a lot of assets in the region right now. No, the interesting thing is that we have gone beyond accusing and striking the Iranian surrogates, and including the IRGC, at least in that statement. We don't know yet if in the strikes. That is a step forward, but there is a difference between the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, an element of the Iranian state, and Iran itself. We have not taken that step yet. We haven't struck targets in Iran, and we haven't accused Iran of being well, we say indirectly behind by supporting and arming, but we have been pretty careful. My view is eventually, if we really want to deter Iran, we have to bring it closer to Iran.
When will it be time to make a judgment then on whether these strikes were effective?
Well, what we will see is not, and I've been through this in 2011, in 2018, in 2020, after we killed Qasem Soleimani. I mean, I've seen this movie many times. Strikes will not halt, but their frequency and the threat that they pose will almost certainly drop as Iran and friends will have to send some kind of signal that they're not just rolling over and giving up, but that they do not want a yet bigger provocation. The key question I have, and we all should have, is if we have, in doing this, also signaled to Iran that the next time Americans suffer casualties, we will strike targets in Iran. In our experience, that's the only thing that really deters Iran. So time will tell whether this has been enough.